Community Financial Empowerment webinar event. So as we like to start off with all of our webinar events, we do so by reciting the promise of community action. We do so because that grounds us in our work and reminds us why we're all here, why we come together to do these events, why we host the learning community, and it's to empower you all to have the biggest impact in the communities where you're located and to help the families that you serve. So if you wanted to read along with me, our promise states that community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. We care about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. All right, so this webinar is actually the third in our series of these Learning with the Learning Community events, and we are doing these to kind of commemorate the impending close of this current cohort of the learning community. But what exactly is the learning community? So as you can see here on your screen, the learning community is comprised of topical peer-to-peer, what we call learning community groups, which consist of community action agencies from around the country that are currently working on a program or service delivery strategy based on a specific anti-poverty focus area. And the purpose of the learning community is to analyze community action outcomes and identify effective, promising, and innovative practice models that alleviate the causes and conditions of poverty. And we do this in a way to help you all build your capacity to fight poverty more effectively, as I just said, to make sure that you're more impactful on the ground in helping the families that you serve every day. And this is important because anti-poverty work is at the heart of what we do. As we just stated in our promise, it's central to why we come into work every day. So this is of critical importance not just to our network, but to the work that we're doing. So just a little bit of instruction on how the learning community works. I'm sure you're interested. That's why you showed up today. But essentially, our groups work in that members attend meetings, usually on a bi-monthly basis. They're mostly virtual through the WebEx platform that we're actually using today. And we discuss, we either drill down into specific focus areas related to their topics, or we do group sharing presentations where group members will talk about certain challenges or barriers that they're facing and discuss together ways that they can overcome those barriers. And you can see on the side some other things that we might talk about during these meetings, or sharing our data findings, offering support, and sharing best practices or approaches that seem to work best for those topic areas. So again, we talked about what the groups are comprised of. It's important to stress that although these members might be working on a specific topic, so today what brought you all together to this webinar, all of the members of this group and our presenters that are going to be talking today are working on financial empowerment strategies. But you'll see as they get into the context of their presentations that they're doing it in different ways. They're going about looking at different strategies, how it fits into their agency's overall financial empowerment work. So what brings them together is kind of the overall topic area, but each agency has its own program or goal that they set about to accomplish as they're working through this cohort in their learning community groups. Each group is offered TA and guidance from their peers, but also subject matter experts from the field to help them facilitate this process. We've been so thrilled with this group in particular to work with CFED, and you're going to be hearing from our subject matter expert in just a few moments, but she'll be talking about what her role in the process is and kind of how she has led our groups through this cohort and the work that they're doing. And again, we really stress that these meetings are open and conducive to experimentation. We really like to encourage our participants and members in our groups that there's no wrong answers and there are no dumb questions. And if you feel like it's a dumb question, I can almost guarantee that maybe 2 other people that are on the call with you are thinking the exact same thing. So we really try to encourage people to be open and sharing not just their successes, but also the challenges that they're facing, and we really put an emphasis on this being a peer-to-peer learning opportunity as they work through either their program or their service delivery strategies. And eventually, each LCG is going to be sharing their lessons learned with the network. We're starting that work with this webinar series, but also we're very excited, and we'll talk a little bit about it at the end, but we're actually hosting a session at this year's annual convention where members from each of our learning community groups are going to have a chance to share their major lessons learned from their work in the 16-month cohort. So they have been doing this work for quite a long time. So across those 16 months, the learning community was kind of broken up into 4 phases. We started back in the formation phase back in September, October of 2015, and we have slowly worked our way through this process, and we are now currently in the final stage, which we are calling the practice transformation phase. In the previous phases, most of our work was focused on helping participants to clarify their goals and strategies, what they were really realistically able to do over the course of this cohort. Then the knowledge building phase was about providing them with resources and research about the work that they were doing. Now we're in the practice transformation phase. For the last about 7 months, our agencies have been actually implementing the programs that they have been working on over the course of our cohort. So now it's more about collecting data, providing them with encouragement, and again, further resources as they're in the process of actually delivering their work. And as they're coming to the close of this cohort, they're going to share, kind of walk you through this process in each of their presentations. So we're very much looking forward to that. So as I mentioned, we have different groups all focused on different areas. This group is really targeted on financial empowerment. And what makes this group different is that it's really about designing strategies to help families with low to moderate income stabilize their financial lives and rise above poverty. And financial empowerment is different from financial capability in that the key word is empowerment. It's really about coaching, working with families to find out what works best for them, and providing them with connections and access to those products, services, programs, things in their community that are going to help them be more informed in their financial lives and about the decisions that they're making for themselves and their families. So that was a lot, but at this point I'm going to turn it over into the very capable hands of our subject matter expert for this group, Ariel Sankar-Bergman. She works with CFED, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about her role in the process and what she's been doing for us. So Ariel, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Great. Thanks so much, Hyacinth, and thanks for doing that overview of the learning community and what we've done so far. So if you'd actually go to the next slide. So as Hyacinth said, my name is Ariel Sankar-Bergman. I'm a program manager on the Savings and Financial Capability team at CFED. And what that looks like for me in terms of my day-to-day work is I provide technical assistance to organizations across the country that are working on this issue of trying to figure out how to address the financial needs that their clients are facing, and how to really integrate financial capability services into programs that clients are already engaged in and already trust and are working with. So I've worked with teeny tiny domestic violence shelters located in rural areas of Idaho, and I've also worked with large United Ways or Catholic charities that are trying to figure out how to, and they're all sort of focused on this question of how to better meet the financial needs of their clients. And next slide. Great, and for those of you who have never heard of CFED before, I just wanted to share a little bit about us. So our mission here is to make it possible for millions of people to achieve financial security and contribute to an opportunity economy. And we do that in several different ways, but I'm on the programs team, and as I said sort of before, we really are focused on how to build up community institutions and strengthen them so that they can work better with clients around addressing financial issues. CFED is an intermediary, so we don't actually serve clients themselves. And the way we really think of it is organizations like community action agencies are our clients, and we're helping them think through innovations and changes to their own services. And next slide. Great. So I just wanted to share a little bit about how I thought about the learning community and my approach to it. From my perspective, the purpose of the community was to connect community agencies with other organizations and other community action agencies that are implementing or that are interested in implementing financial empowerment programs. We also work to develop plans to implement financial programs and financial empowerment programs and services. We also develop times to hear from peers, both in the learning community and outside of the learning community, and experts from the field that are focused on implementing financial empowerment services and programs. And we also provided access to articles and resources about financial empowerment. Next slide, please. So just continuing with sort of this general theme, my approach to this work was providing support and resources. We provided technical support or targeted support and technical assistance using a resource that CFPD and the Office of Community Services created, which is called Building Financial Capability, a Planning Guide for Integrated Services. And this resource that we created is really designed to walk organizations really step-by-step through the process of integrating financial capability services and designing for program change. So a lot of the tools and lessons from that guide were woven throughout the learning community. And then the other thing we did is identify community action agencies and other community-based organizations who could serve as experts and who could share their experience of either using the guide or just of integrating or working on other financial education or credit building topics with the rest of the community. Next slide, please. So yeah, great, thank you. So I just wanted to take a few moments and introduce everyone to the guide if they haven't used it before. So the guide again is called Building Financial Capability, a Planning Guide for Integrated Services, and it's a comprehensive guide. It's really, as I said, designed to walk organizations through the process of 1, selecting financial capability services for clients, 2, of identifying who can provide those services, and 3, of developing an implementation plan. The guide has been tested. We use it a lot in our TA, but before we produced it, we tested it with lots of organizations who gave us feedback, who helped us refine the tools, and we also included fictional examples of organizations filling out those tools based on a community action agency. So we've worked a lot with the field to try and make sure that the tools and lessons that we have in here are relevant for organizations. Next slide, please. So up on the screen, we've got the table of contents for the guide. I just wanted to walk everyone through this for a sec. So the guide has 4 major sections, and within each of those sections, there are several tools. The tools in section 1 are designed to help you answer the question of what financial capability services you want to provide. So we have a tool for helping you analyze how your clients are currently managing, helping you identify outcomes that would be meaningful for your clients, and then finally developing a solid theory of change. In the next section, the tools are designed to help you answer the question of who should deliver services. So we have tools to help you assess your in-house capacity to deliver a financial capability services. And then tools 5 and 6 are really sort of community mapping tools. So it's creating an inventory of different service providers. And then we have a lot of questions in tool 6 to help you assess whether those providers would be a good fit for working with your clients in your organization. And then tool 7 is really a planning tool, so it's deciding who will deliver those services, whether it's you're delivering them yourself or you're going to work with one of those community service providers that you've identified. In tool 3, the tools are all designed to help you answer the question of how services should be delivered. So tool 8 is a current program workflow, or we also like to refer to that as a client journey map. And that is a tool where you're really mapping out the journey of your clients from outreach to intake to the start of services, and you're identifying where financial conversations are happening in that program workflow to try to figure out, are there moments in those interactions where you could really be integrating services or sharing more resources. And then based on the decisions you came up with in tool 7, we have a referral plan, a partnership plan, or a DIY plan. And the referral partnership plan, they're almost like, they're designed to be almost like an MOU. you. So something where you're really hammering out what your relationship will look like with another organization, how you'll refer clients, when you'll share data, what are key things about what's the, who's the client that's a good fit for this program and who isn't a good fit. And then finally, there's Tool 12, which is a logic model, which a lot of organizations use to help them to start thinking through how they are going to track information, what kind of outputs they're looking for, what are the outcomes they're hoping to achieve. There's also a cross-cutting section, and the one tool in that is a stakeholder support tool, which is designed to help organizations build support among key stakeholders, whether that's frontline staff or their board. Next slide, please. Great, so I just wanted to do a quick summary of what we've done so far. So our first 3 calls were really focused on presentations from the site. On the third call, I did a short presentation where I introduced folks to the guide and also to our definition of financial capability, which we use a lot. We talk about financial capability in a certain way, so I just wanted to share that with the group. The next call was about finding out what clients need and training staff to deliver those services. So we talked about assessing clients' financial lives and shared Tool 1 from the guide. We also talked about Tool 2 from the guide, which is the tool where you're identifying outcomes. And we did a brief overview of Tool 3, which is the theory of change. And then we also talked about implementing financial capability services. So we did a really brief overview of Section 3 of the guide. We also, those presentations were fairly short though. We had some great presentations from organizations. So we first heard from CAP Services, Inc., and they presented on the strategies they had done to assess clients' financial lives, and then also talked about how they used that information to develop a new savings and debt reduction program for clients in a workforce program that they offered. We also heard from Capstone Community Action, and they talked about how they trained their staff to use the CFPB's Your Money, Your Goals curriculum, and about a partnership that they developed with their state's TANF office. Next slide, please. In the next call, we went back to the theory of change. So we heard a presentation from Wayne Metro Community Action Agency about their process for integrating financial capability services into their Head Start program and about how they developed the theory of change. And then on that actual call, several of the learning participants started to sketch out what their theory of change would be. And then in the call in September, we talked about developing successful partnerships because that was something that a lot of folks in the call were interested in. So we went through the Tool 10 from the guide, which is the partnership plan. And then we also heard from Baltimore Community Action Partnership about local partnerships that they had created. In October, we talked about coaching, counseling, and crisis. So financial coaching and financial counseling were 2 services that people were really interested in, and then a lot of the groups that are in the learning community are working with clients who are in crisis. So we brought on a presenter who could talk about offering financial capability services to clients in crisis. So first, we heard from Hiba Haroon, who is actually a staff member at CFED, who is trained as a financial coach and ran a helped run a financial coaching program at a resettlement agency. We also heard from Sarah Gilbert, who works at GreenPath and talked about their financial wellness program and the financial counseling services they offer. And then finally, we heard from Julie Yato, who works at Sojourner Family Peace Center, which is a domestic violence shelter and comprehensive center that's located in Milwaukee, about how they have worked to implement financial capability services for clients who are really in very serious crises. Next slide, please. And then this past January, a lot of folks on the call were interested in youth financial education. So we discussed the theory of change for two programs that Stu Binning Yates, which is one of the participants in the learning community. So they shared updates on a theory of change for their Wealth Health Skills program and for their Assets for Independence. And then we had a presentation from Joseph Cecile, who is the Financial Empowerment Coordinator for the Department of Community Services in the city of Louisville, about his efforts to improve youth financial education programs, and actually about a curriculum that they had developed. And so he was able to provide a lot of tips and resources for how to work with youth around financial education. And then in our most recent call in March, We started a discussion, which we will continue, about making the case for financial capability services, and we also heard project updates again. So at the beginning of the call, we reviewed CFPD's scorecard data and talked about how this data can be used by programs to make the case for financial capability services. And then we reviewed the strategies that Community Action Partnership of Orange County used to survey their program participants about their financial needs and discussed how the survey results impacted program design. And that's my last slide, Hyacinth. Great.
Excellent. Thank you so much for walking through that, Ariel. And again, I just want to underscore your facilitation of this group. It has been so wonderful to work with you all and watch the agencies that have been taking part in this cohort really get really specific, guided, targeted access to their strategies, and to also work with them in a way where they're sharing what they're doing, based on our different topics. So thank you so much for that.
Of course, and we've really enjoyed working with you all as well.
And I actually did have one question for you that came in through the chat, Ariel, if you had just a second.
Sure,
before we move
absolutely.
to our group. So someone asked us, relating to the financial capability tool that CFED does, could you talk a little bit how that matches, how that compares and contrasts with Your Money, Your Goals from CFPB?
Yeah. So they're actually really different tools, although we love Your Money, Your Goals and often recommend organizations look at it a lot. So building financial capability, or the guide as we call it, is a planning tool. So it's designed to sort of walk organizations from start to finish around the strategic planning process of offering a new service, whereas Your Money, Your Goals is really a toolkit that's designed for frontline staff who are working directly with clients, and they're working to address like financial challenges with clients. Like in our tool, it's not a financial education tool. It's not meant for frontline staff. It's really designed for senior leadership who are in sort of a position to create organizational change, and who are looking to sort of go through that planning process of thinking about where do we want to offer a new service, or how could we be doing more in this program to better meet the needs of clients.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You put it
No
a lot
problem.
more eloquent than I could have, so thank you for that. So thank you again, Ariel, for walking us through kind of the overview of our group and what CFED's role has been in this cohort. So now I'm going to turn it over to the first of our presenters today. You're going to be hearing from the wonderful ladies in Baltimore City who are going to be talking about their work in the Financial Empowerment LCG. So you all are on. Let me see. Lori, are you unmuted?
Yes, we're here.
All right, awesome. So just tell me when to click through, and we'll get going.
Next. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. It's really been a pleasure and extremely insightful in working with Hyacinth and Ariel on planning our financial empowerment program. Our team consists of Dr. Donatra Green-Stroman, who's our Deputy Director, and Adango Matthews, who is our Program Manager, and I'm Lori, the Director of the Community Action Program for Baltimore City. Click next. So the mission of the Baltimore City Community Action Partnership is to reduce poverty by offering opportunities for low-income households through education, financial empowerment, housing and energy services, food resources, and capacity building. And we also provide case management. The next slide. Thank you. Our agency began in 1965, and we serve over 40,000 households annually, providing various services. We're the largest city in Maryland. We have a declining population, but still just north of 600,000. And Baltimore is known as Charm City. We are a community of neighborhoods. The city is predominantly African American, and we have 28.1% Caucasian and 4.5% Hispanic population. Some of our communities that we have are surrounded by the Southeast Community Action Partnership Center, so we see more of a multicultural client base at that location more than some of the other centers. Next slide. So as I said, we have a 23.8% poverty rate. Almost 150,000 residents are in poverty, and a climbing unemployment rate of 8.4%. with just an average median income of $41,385. It's not a lot, and it's one of the things that we're really working to be able to address. Next slide. So when we looked at our unbanked and underbanked population, 13.9% of Baltimoreans are unbanked and 25.4% are underbanked. So according to CFED, 1 out of 5 Maryland households has little or no money saved to cover expenses for at least 3 months if they were to lose their jobs today. And if you exclude any assets that that family may have that can't easily be turned into cash, such as a house or a car, then it even climbs higher to nearly 1/3 of Maryland households are living without a safety net. Next slide. Our program has 5 centers, 2 satellite locations, and the Office of Home Energy program. And most of our services are walk-ins. However, we do have appointments for our case management program. All of the services fall under 4 prongs: housing and energy, financial empowerment, food nutrition, and case management. We offer our financial empowerment classes at our Community Action Partnership Centers on a regular basis. We have a 6-week program. We also offer the program every morning, so while clients are waiting for services, we do a brief program for them to get them thinking about financial empowerment and to be able to ask those questions when they're meeting with their worker. We also provide 10 pop-up centers. So one of the things that we notice is that we are geographically dispersed across the city, but there are definitely other areas where the residents are not utilizing our services as much as we would like. And so what we've done is a low-cost, no-overhead program called Pop-Ups, where we will partner with an existing organization within the city who has a client base similar to ours, and we will go to that location for 1 to 5 days and provide all of our services to that community, and then encourage them to come to the Community Action Partnership Center that's closest to them. We also provide the VITA program for tax assistance, including asset development at 4 of our sites annually. And one of our programs is year-round, and we participate in over 50 community events and fairs throughout the year. Next slide. So some of our current work that we're doing is our Your Money, Your Goals workshop, and that's what I mentioned, which is our 6-week financial education curriculum. We're also utilizing FDIC's Money Smart for a program that we're going to be doing this summer with approximately 5,000 youth who are coming through our Mayor's Office of Employment Development Summer Youth Work program. And we work to assist clients to set financial goals, select healthy financial products, and build skills in managing money and credit and debt. We had 128 residents participate in 2015, which was our first year, and that number is climbing to over 400 residents for 2016, and I think about 700 probably for 2017, but we're still taking in clients. And for our tax preparation and asset development, for individuals and families that have an income of $53,000 or less, we provided this service to over 13,000 clients. And we've processed over $1.29 million in earned income tax credits. Baltimore leaves a lot of money on the table for earned income tax credits, and of course we know that's a great way for residents to be able to increase their income base. Next slide.
Okay, so when we started this process, we set some goals back in 2015. Our goals were to increase our community awareness of our program, retain customer interest in financial literacy and asset development, create a partnership with CFED and establish an IDA program, identify funding, new funding sources, add an accredited coach or counselor to the team, and from our peers, we wanted to learn from our peers, create strategies, discuss outcomes, and share resources. Next slide, please. And also back in 2015, we rated ourselves a 3 based on our strengths and some of the challenges that we were experiencing. We did have a strong Your Money, Your Goals program, our VITA and asset development piece, and we were aiming to really firm up the financial empowerment center, add on some certified coaches, as well as our IDA program. But of course, we faced challenges like funding, other programs competing for time, client interest, retention, and even some staff interest as well. Next slide, please. And so we began work. Our goals, like I said before, were to have our centers serving as financial empowerment centers, increase our
tax services to year-round, increase our ability of staff to really have those conversations and weave it into their intake process and their case management process with every client that they saw, establish the IDA program, decrease the percentage of unbanked and underbanked residents in the city, increase our quality and also our quantity of our Your Money, Your Goals workshops, and create a financial empowerment program manager position. Next slide, please. And some of the headway that we have made on those goals, in terms of serving as financial empowerment centers, we increased the financial capability knowledge of our leadership. So between 2015 and now, we have attended several conferences. The IFL Financial Conference that was held in Chicago recently, our leadership staff attended and really was able to bring back a lot of vital information to the team. The Maryland Financial Education Summit that was held in Maryland about a month ago. And we also participated in the TA assistance with CFED. And all of those efforts together allowed us to really increase our knowledge, not just of the financial education piece that we were really kind of strong in, but financial capability as a whole. As Lori mentioned, this year we will be participating in providing the financial education to youth and young adults through the Summer Works program in Baltimore City called Youth Works, and we will be spearheading that effort. We have partnered with the FDIC to also include some of the curriculum from their Money Smart program, as well as from our Your Money, Your Goals program. We are also working with a lot of financial providers in the area to also make sure that we have additional capacity to provide those services. And again, participating with CFED to develop a referral plan we've been working on, and we'll talk some more about that in the following slides. But really to develop the referral plan for the services that we currently are not able to provide for whatever reason. But we want to ensure that our residents do have access to that, and so we have really identified some good organizations in our area that we can refer clients to, not just that cold referral process, but a really warm handoff where we can get feedback to know if clients are actually taking advantage of the services. And we've also started to include that financial capability education and scales as well in our intake process, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. With regard to providing the year-round tax preparation services, what we have done since 2015 is started providing those year-round tax preparation services at one of our centers. So on the days where clients come in for the fewest crisis, we've identified 1 day per week, and at one of our community action agencies, of which we have 5 across the city, we provide that service year-round. The aim is to really expand that to be available at all of our centers once we're able to hire more staff and work with our HR to reclassify some positions so that staff can come in already expecting that financial capability focus. Next slide, please. As far as where we've gotten with increasing the ability of our staff to weave financial capability education into the intake process, like I stated before, we've developed those scales as well as the referral plan. And we also include ROMA scales in the intake process, again, to open up all the issues that clients might have that will lead to those financial conversations. As far as our IDA program, unfortunately, the funds were zeroed out for the program, and we are currently looking at other grant opportunities. We're working with some local banks who have shown interest in providing us with funding, and so that's an alternate step that we have taken. Next slide, please.
So when we look at our program planning and implementation, we decreased the percentage of unbanked and underbanked residents. We had an effort that was largely tied to the IDA program, and we created opportunities through the VITA program. We were able to increase the quality and quantity of Your Money, Your Goals workshops. We've moved some of the workshops to the mornings to capture all customers who come into the centers. We use the train-the-trainer model, internal and external partners, and we've increased the external partnership with churches and other housing programs. One of the things that we found is when clients were coming to see us, they were often coming to address a crisis, and they weren't necessarily prepared to take on a 6-week program through our case management with a focus on financial education. So that's why we've moved some of the classes to the mornings. And we've also found that we've had a greater success with partners that are seeing a similar client base as we are, but the clients are coming for a different reason than a crisis, and so they've been able to better engage in our 6-week program. We've also created a financial empowerment. We're also working to create the financial empowerment program manager position, where we'll carve out the financial capability program role with our human services manager position, and that's been done through the through a download position as the manager of one of our CAP centers. She's taken the charge of leading the effort throughout the Community Action Partnership Program of implementing all of our financial education programs, and HR is in the process of officially changing those roles and responsibilities, so where our CAP managers will not focus on just on center management, but on program management. Next slide. So some of our challenges and successes. Our challenges have been scheduling and incentivizing crisis customers to participate in financial capability workshops and new initiatives. Also scarce resources with the Prep for the IDA program, and getting staff to consistently create conversations with the intake process. So one of the things that was found is that because we had such a high volume of customers, some of the staff was focusing on some of the crisis issues and was not always weaving that conversation about financial capability into the process. But we've worked with staff and done monitoring and coaching, and that's expanded greatly. Some of our other successes are providing financial capability education to all participants in the Youth and Young Adult Summer Employment Program, which is approximately 8,000 participants that will be scattered across the city, and the development of the financial capability scales through the ROMA scales, and increased partnerships with universities, banks, and housing agencies, as well as other nonprofit organizations. So some of the next steps are to implement the financial capability scales at the editors, implementing the referral plan, continuing to apply for additional funding, expanding the partnership with FDIC and the Money Smart program. Economic Empowerment Series, we're working on a series of workshops for professionals in the financial industry to work on decreasing the number of unbanked residents and debt management and housing stability, with a goal of bringing organizations together with similar services that can make a more collective impact in the city. And next slide.
Okay, and so between 2015 and now, how we would rate ourselves is a 4 out of 5, based on everything that we have just referred to, the Your Money, Your Goals, increasing that program, increasing the availability of the year-round VITA program, participating in the summer and young adult financial capability programming, the development of the referral plan, the financial capability scale being introduced into the intake process, just our general knowledge buildings, our conferences and summits, as well as our increased partnerships.
Thank you. So any questions for us?
Yes. So thank you so much, ladies. We had a couple of questions that come in through the chat. I was going to post them to you. So the first question that came in from one of our attendees was, while you were going through some of the financial services that you offer, you talked a little bit about a short program that you do with clients while they're waiting to be seen or waiting to go to some of the other programs that you offer. Could you talk a little bit more about how you do that? What kind of topics do you cover, and how do you present it with those clients in that setting?
Good, that's a great question. So we try to address the challenge of staggered participation in our 6-week program. So when clients are coming to our centers, for the most part, we have anywhere from 20 to 50 people who are arriving around 8:30 in the morning. And when we are serving customers, we have the overall introduction to our program, but then we choose one of the modules from the Your Money, Your Goals. So we might talk about household budgeting, or how to decrease your debt, how to manage your credit. The modules change because we do have some returning customers, and one of our staff takes about 20 to 30 minutes to go over the program while the customers are waiting and the rest are being seen. So they are posing questions to us. We have videos, they do demonstrations, and we're also incorporating the FDIC Money Smart program into it as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Another question that came in, could you go into a little bit more detail about the warm referrals that you said you've gotten from other agencies that you're working with, and what that handoff typically looks like in your experience?
Okay, so we are still in the process of finalizing that referral process, but one of the agencies that we have started working with is St. Ambrose. They are a housing agency in our area, and they have certified financial coaches on board. So what we have done in our referral plan is use the referral plan that's in the planning guide to really set up how the referrals will look. So we have connected with a staff person at that organization who will work with a staff person at our organization when we send someone over there. They already have the consent forms and whatnot in place so that once a client does sign off, they'll be able to provide us back with that information saying that, yes, the client did come and take advantage of the services that they provide.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Another question that came into the chat, would you all be willing to share your intake slides, or your intake scales, excuse me, that you talked about a little bit earlier in your presentation?
Oh, certainly. We definitely would.
Great. So what we can do is if you send those to us, we'll actually put it in the follow-up email that goes out after this event. And in that email, you can find a link to the recording of today's event, a copy of the slides, and these intake scales and any other relevant resources that come up from today's event. So thank you for that. We'll be sure to put those in for you guys. Any other questions that we have for Baltimore City before we move on to our next set of presenters? Okay.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ladies, so much. Again, we really applaud you on all of the work that you guys have been doing. You certainly have been busy over the last 16 months, so we really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and thank you again for your participation in our cohort. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So next, we're going to go ahead to our next set of presenters today, and we're going to be hearing from the team in Capstone. So Liz, I think you're on. I'm going to unmute you on my end, so you should be good to go.
Hi there. Hi, this is Mary Niebling, Director of Community Economic Development at Capstone, and I'm here with Liz Sharp, Maureen Doherty, and Liz is going to do our presentation. We're going to rush through it because we all have to leave at 3. So, Liz, take it away.
We'll be very efficient. So you can move to the next slide, please. So a lot of these slides came from when we first started this this cohort, and so we're just going to review some of the information that we had presented last year. So regarding the demographics around our service area, we have, we're in Berry City with our median income of $39,500 with 16.7% below poverty. We do have decent home ownership for the state of Vermont at 73%, but in Berry it's a little bit lower at 52%. And again, Berry City home prices are a bit lower than the rest of Vermont at $143,000 for a median home price. We do live in a rural area. We're primarily Caucasian. A lot of the families that we work with are female and many single parents as well. A lot of our, some of the issues that we deal with in Vermont involve our geography. We have limited transportation opportunities, so people rely on cars to get around to their jobs. Yeah, so those are some of our challenges is, you know, it's a cold place where we live. We don't have lots of great weather. Our summer lasts about 2.5 months. And then,
we're lucky.
Yeah, we're lucky. And, you know, despite the fact that, you know, it's not a bad economy, we still tend to have pockets of places in Vermont where there are fewer opportunities for employment. So next slide. So this is our service area. We service 3 counties in Vermont. Vermont is fully covered by community action agencies. Capstone is one of 5, and we serve 3 counties. Next slide. So our agency programs and services are like many other community action agencies. We have community economic development, the family and community support services, which is our food shelf, fuel assistance, and housing assistance. We have Head Start, and we have weatherization. And within community economic development, where Mary and Maureen and I work, we have the VITA tax program, the microbusiness development, workforce development, and our savings and credit program, and the community kitchen academy. And this program, this project that we've been working on for this cohort involves the Community Kitchen Academy and the Savings and Credit Program. So next slide. So that was our focus, was to integrate opportunities around financial education to the participants in our Community Kitchen Academy. This was modeled after a bigger program in Burlington, Vermont, and it is a job training program for people who are interested in getting trained in the culinary arts. The criteria for acceptance is that you have to be unemployed or unemployable, have very low income, and the ability to attend a full 12-week session. And have reasonable housing and transportation in place so that you can attend the program. Next slide. So I worked in conjunction with our chef, Dave Eiler. And he and I worked together to determine what was going to work out for building financial capability services into the Community Kitchen Academy program. So next slide. So we rated ourselves in the beginning of this learning group as a 4 because we have been providing services related to credit building and asset building even longer, but credit building since 2008. And we do have 2 full-time financial coaches in our program area. And we've been doing the IDA match savings for 20 years, and that's included the financial literacy training. So next slide. So let's see. What we wanted to do was we wanted to offer classes to the Community Kitchen Academy students who were working really hard in the kitchen, doing a lot of, you know, training on all manner of cooking, getting trained for serving safe serve and alcohol license and all that kind of stuff. And so fitting this in was pretty challenging, but we wanted to make sure that we could cover 3 classes, one on budgeting and saving, one on credit and debt, and one on planning for the future. And planning for the future included things like retirement, how to read a paycheck, how to understand taxes, and that kind of stuff. So we had, in addition to that, I also met one-on-one with each student to pull their credit report and meet with them to talk about it and create an action plan to improve their credit if necessary. And then I also offered follow-up one-on-one financial coaching, you know, during off hours, so when they weren't in class, for those who are interested in following up. Next slide. So we started this by, you know, meeting with the chef to talk about, you know, how we wanted to propose this financial capability programming in the CKA. And we figured out how we would schedule classes into his curriculum and, you know, determined that we thought 3 would be a good amount. And then we also scheduled one-on-one time slots for these credit reviews. And We did get approval from the program partners. So this is a program also of the Vermont Food Bank. And so they were, we got buy-in from them as well as buy-in from our senior management.
And also from the students can earn college credit through the program, so we had to make sure that the work that Liz was helping students with would fit in within the college curriculum.
And so we've done this already now 3 times with 3 different Community Kitchen Academy. Okay, next slide. I think this is on the next slide. Yeah, okay, so we've already completed 3 full sessions, or we're in the middle of our 3rd session right now of the 12-week Community Kitchen classes. And so, yeah, all of it, I've just been working with the chef directly. So when he finds out that he's got a new session, we immediately book everything on the calendar like in one day. We book all 3 classes and we book the one-on-ones. We don't have the names of the students yet, but I put it on my calendar and meet for a half an hour after each class. And that's a requirement that they meet with me. And so all of that is sort of set in place when the students first, when they, on their first day of class, it's all on the calendar and scheduled for the entire 12 weeks.
And they understand that it's a requirement.
Right. And then next slide. So we've had successes and we've had challenges, as is in any project. So a lot of the successes were for many students. Some of the information that we talk about in classes was pretty eye-opening for them in terms of things like how to build credit, how to improve their credit, and I think overall it was pretty well received by students. And I did get a number of students, I get a handful of them that want to continue working with me, and it's generally around issues on their credit report. Challenging was, getting, even though I said that we had scheduled all that stuff in advance, things would change, and so we'd have to reschedule, and getting everyone into their one-on-one time. We'd accomplish it, but it took some sort of navigating our calendars. Also, a lot of the students really have struggled with no credit history or very poor credit, and many of them actually don't have bank accounts either, and they're not employed at the moment. So it's difficult with them not being employed and just being in this program to actually take steps to make improvements like save money or work on paying back something on their credit report. And it has proven to be a pretty challenging group to work with. Many of them have struggled with drug addiction in the past, and there's a lot of trauma that comes with some of the students, and so navigating that and talking about personal finances is tricky. And I found that I had to adjust sometimes my classes. So I'd go in there with this idea that I was going to talk about budgeting, and then I'd come to find out that half the people in the class didn't have a bank account and didn't know how to open a bank account. So I changed the subject from budgeting to let's work on getting bank accounts and why it's important to have a bank account. So, so that's, those have been some of the challenges.
Can I say?
Yep.
There was also, Liz has talked about folks didn't know how to read a paycheck, which we think of as sort of a basic skill, but they thought if they were earning $400 that they'd actually get $400 to take home.
Right.
So real basic information.
Right. So next slide. So we have some next steps, and that is we really would like to follow up with these students. Again, a lot of them move out of the area, go to some of the bigger cities like Burlington to find a job. And, you know, they have, you know, cell phones that get cut off and, you know, so they don't have the same number. So figuring out how to follow up with the students and reach out to them to determine if they're actually, you know, taking steps towards improving their financial outlooks. And that we haven't really had the time to figure out how we want to do that, and maybe, you know, it might involve like an incentive or something to complete a survey if we can get in touch with them. So next slide. So we still rated ourselves as a 4, although I said maybe we could give ourselves a 4.5. And, you know, I would say, you know, before this, you know, we hadn't been doing this integration into the community kitchen academy. So, you know, that has become a normal activity for the program. So I think that, you know, we should give ourselves a pat on the back for that. We're not getting funding for it, you know, so we just sort of do it as part of my, you know, just part of my job. You know, we continue to be recognized as the lead organization for training in Central Vermont around financial capability. So, you know, we think of ourselves pretty well. Next slide, that might be it. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. So thank you, ladies, so much for walking us through all of the work that you guys have been doing. Again, as you can see, they have been nothing short of busy, and I know you guys have to jump off the call. But I did just want to, again, thank you so much for your commitment to this work, and thank you for your time in agreeing to presenting at today's event. So I won't keep you long, but thank you all so much.
Okay. Folks can email us if they have additional questions. Thanks.
Yes, please. Yes, please do.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So we'll do up.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so last but certainly not least, we're going to move to our third presentation today, and we're going to be hearing from the wonderful ladies at Community Action Partnership of Orange County. So Dolores, I'm going to unmute you, and you all should be on. So go ahead.
So, and you're going to transfer the slides from Maribel to forward, right? So I would
yes.
just to start by thanking the National CAP, because this was a really great opportunity for us. We've been wanting to expand our financial empowerment, well, you call them capabilities here, what resonates with stability, financial stability services into the agency, and have had some struggles doing that in the past. Let me tell you just a little bit about Orange County. We're sandwiched between Los Angeles and San Diego. We're a small county, but our population is 3.2 million, so we're fairly dense. While our federal poverty level is 12.4%, when people factor in, because we have a very high median income and a very high cost of living, when you factor those in, we're closer to 20% poverty level, but it's really stark between those have and have not. Of course, we've been here, like most of the CAPs, for over 50 years. And in the demographics, I didn't put it on the slide, but for Orange County, there is no majority. We have about in the mid-30s for the Hispanic Latino population, the same for the Caucasian population, and a little over 21 or 22% for the Asian Pacific Islander, and then the rest are lower than that. So it's an interesting mix of population. We have 3 program areas, and our mission, very similar to the other missions, has to do with preventing the causes and effects of poverty. So we have the Energy and Environmental Services, which does the utility assistance and weatherization, the Orange County Food Bank, which is like traditional food banks, serves over 300 agencies with food and services and does a really large senior commodities program. My department, the Community Partnerships and Services Department, runs 2 family resource centers which serve all ages and with a variety of programs through pretty much a family development lens. We have our nutrition education, obesity prevention. We do a lot of nutrition ed. We do some community engagement. We really look at health disparities. We run community gardens. We do the same similar in Healthy Cities outreach with promotion of physical activity, reduction of obesity and chronic illnesses in a couple of cities. Then we just recently finished a 3-year program with CDC, which is the Partnerships to Improve Community Health, which really does policy, systems, and environmental change for improved health outcomes. Then our newest program, which is our Healthy Marriage and Families program, which is the program that we'll talk about for implementing the financial empowerment services. Okay. Why did we want to come to, what were our goals within the learning group? Well, we were starting a new 5-year program, the Healthy Marriage and Families program, and one of the 3 components was financial empowerment. So we really wanted some assistance in making sure that we did a good job of it. And as I said, we really wanted that to be the entry point, what we learned from that, to take the opportunity to expand it throughout the agency. So we really wanted to take those learnings and figure out how to do it. We've been providing financial services, an IDA program about 4 or 5 years ago, our youth employment program with summer sites, a self-sufficiency calculator program. We have a county-wide financial stability group in United Way had done some work on that. We even had 1 year of a financial case management, but it was all standalone programs that only existed while the funding existed. We had never been able to really integrate them so that they would continue after funding or that they were a part of our regular programs. We do have a very robust VITA program, or Earned Income Tax Credit program, that continues on. So we started with Healthy Marriages and Families program, and I'm going to pass it over to Maribel, who's the program manager for that.
Thank you. So during the calls, it would normally be 3 of us on the call. So we would have Dolores, our director, and then myself. And then we also were very fortunate to have a continuous quality improvement consultant that would also be on the call. And she really was one that was assisting us with all the tools that were being created. But not only were we really involved in the calls and with the work that we were doing along the, during the months, but I would take back all that information and really pass it down to everybody that was involved within our Healthy Marriages and Families program. So we would work with our coordinators, our financial stability partners, and other facilitators that were also involved. We just really wanted to pass down all that information so that way we could really implement what we were trying to do. So here's a quick little overview of our Healthy Marriages and Families program. We are at 5 different family resource centers, and we were very deliberate about going to these specific family resource centers because they have services there already that are able to support families. They have case management, counseling, parenting classes, they have youth programs, and many other services that they're able to provide services to clients. And so one of our components was the Healthy Relationships for Adults, and we also offer it for youth. And some of the topics that would be covered would be healthy communication, safe conflict resolution, and many other topics. One of the things, though, that was very unique about our curriculum is that they received tools and techniques. So it wasn't just knowledge-based, but they really got to practice everything that they were being taught during the class. And one of the things that we learned along the way when we started working with CFED and we received the technical assistance is that we knew we wanted to do a financial needs assessment to assess what topics were of interest to clients or what they wanted to learn. Along the way, though, we realized that the way we actually conducted the assessment wasn't very efficient to identifying the topics that we needed to cover. And so one thing that we learned is we wanted to do integration. So as couples are going through the healthy relationship workshops, our staff is able to administer a financial needs assessment, and they're able to take that information, compile that information, and hand that over to our financial stability partners so they can prioritize the topics that would be most appropriate. We wanted, at the end of the day, to know where they were in their financial lives. The next component that we focus on is the financial stability component. And so these are just some of the topics: banking, understanding credit, financial goals, and developing the spending plan. However, we do base the topics based on the financial needs assessment.
And I wanted to insert a little bit. There's been, and financial institutions throughout the United States do a lot of financial literacy classes. And what we had noted over the years is that clients get a lot of information, and we had learned this from our nutrition education. Education alone doesn't create any kind of behavioral change. So what we really wanted to do is set up a framework. If we were providing information, it was applicable to their life so that they could make changes. So they could either create a budget or start a, there's just so much in financial literacy that's great information, but doesn't really address where the clients are and doesn't set a framework for change.
So with those classes, we also gave them tools. They were able to complete a personal finance family plan, and also had the opportunity to pull their credit reports. So as they were discussing that topic, they were able to make it apply to their lives. And the third component is the workforce readiness. We have a partner that's able to come out and also provide workshops for clients, but also do the one-on-one. So as clients go through all the different components, they're able to see if they need to either look for a job or get a better job, and that person is able to assist them with that one-on-one if it's needed. So let's see, we're going to go to the next slide here. So before we started the financial capability empowerment group, I would say we would rate ourselves as a 2. We were very fortunate, again, to receive funding for the financial stability component, and so we were able to partner with 2 agencies. And we also, at the beginning, we knew we had to do a community assessment. We did an assessment that had 3 questions, and we wanted clients to rate what they would want to, what would they be interested in. And when we received all the results, we saw that everything was checked off. They wanted to learn about everything. So the TA that we received came in perfect timing because they really assisted us. So with the planning and implementation process, again, thank you to CFED. They really were able to assist us quite a bit. One of the things that was very important and critical for our planning was using the tools from the Tools for Building Financial Capability. We loved going through the process and going through the work group that every month we would focus on a different tool. It really made us go back and really analyze where our families were at, what services needed to be provided, and so forth. The second thing that CFED assisted us with was a new financial needs assessment tool. And I do have a sample of what it is, if you can help me out here. So this is what was created after we received some technical assistance. And this one was focused for adults, and it just had a couple of questions that focused on monthly income, public benefits, taxes, banking, and so forth, savings, debt, credit, and then also financial goals. Many of our clients didn't really know how to identify financial goals, so when staff would actually administer these questions, they are able to help them with that. Now, in our second tool here, this is an example of, if you go down to the data on the bottom left, the first tab, I'm sorry. Well, this is what actually gets, there you go. So because we received all these assessments, we just didn't want to hand these over to our financial stability partners. We really wanted to create a tool that would compile all the information and make it easy for them to identify what needed to be presented. So this tool here was created by our consultant, and she was able to put this together and then make recommendations. So on the second tab, it really summarized everything, and so she's able to go based on the results on that.
So that meant before anybody would teach a financial literacy class or financial capability class, they would know exactly what the clients needed. So the clients would be hooked in right away with their needs.
And so on an average class, we would have anywhere between 10 to 20 participants. So it was a big enough group that we can really have a good class. And then if anyone else came on board for that class, we definitely accepted that. However, the main topics were definitely geared towards the clients that were attending our classes. So, and then we can go ahead. So that's one of the tools. So one of the other things that we also did, again, we received the technical assistance, and we had money to contract partners. And one of the things that we were missing, though, was really knowing or understanding what we wanted to have them present or how to present. And as we kept going through these workshops with the clients, we realized that we also needed them to do interactive activities with the clients. We wanted them to give them tools that they can walk away with, make it very applicable to what their lives were like. And so with the help of CFED, we were able to have a conference call with our financial stability partners and really explore ways on how can we strengthen that. So that was very, very helpful for us. The other thing, too, is we are having just constant communication and updates with our program facilitators. So we constantly are meeting with them and letting them know of what changes are happening or how we'd like for them to proceed with the implementation of the workshops. In March, CFED was able to come out to our site for a site visit. However, I call it a retreat because we were able to really bring everybody together. We had some time to really spend just with us as a team and really identify just our next steps. However, we were able to bring in Family Resource Center staff, other team members, and we were able to really identify what was realistic in implementing financial stability within their agency. Because we were at 5 different centers, they had 5 different communities, so it was going to be a little different at every center. So that was really nice. And then now moving forward, we're trying to explore ways of integrating financial stability within our own agency.
Yeah, our first step that we hope to do is we're talking to the Energy and Environmental Services Department to do similar to what I think it was Baltimore that did the presentations before the class, while they're waiting to do utility assistance, because it's such a perfect time. One of the tools from Your Money, Your Goals talks about safety net or putting aside money for an emergency. It would be a great time to do that presentation. And then for returning clients, we're looking at 3 different budgets based on when their income comes in, monthly, biweekly, or every week. So we're looking at new tools, and other departments are listening, and the state of California, the Community Services Department, is also looking at doing some train the trainer. So we've got 20 staff members now signed up to really get that training and to really build the capacity within our agency for more financial empowerment services.
So some lessons learned. One of the things one of our challenges was understanding the understanding of our program with the Family Resource Center staff. Since they were an off-site center, it was really hard to communicate with all of them and have them understand what our goals were and how we wanted to integrate the financial stability component with all of what they do there at their center. So after the retreat, we really identified some ways to really overcome that. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is before we go into a center and provide services, we're going to be having a meeting with all of their staff to really have them all be on the same page and to have a better understanding of what our program is. Since they do have case managers on site, what we want to do is if there's a client that needs additional services, we really just want to be able to link them back to that center and to that case manager so they can get that extra support from them. The other challenge was communication with financial stability facilitators. So again, we were very fortunate to have partners. However, those partners had volunteers that would go out and do the presentations. And so we would have different presenters throughout the workshops. So one thing that we have asked is if we can have one person complete the 3 or 4 workshops that are going to be presented. And we did that because we want the families to feel comfortable and to establish a rapport with that facilitator. And then, again, finances is a sensitive topic. We want them to feel comfortable with that. And then also we asked for that same person, for that one person, to have constant communication with us so that way we can follow up with them if there's any changes that they need for the next workshop, or if they're missing any equipment or anything like that, we're able to have that communication with them. Another challenge that we had was keeping our youth engaged. We know that the partners had great information. However, we were missing that interactive piece. So one of the things that we spoke to our partners were to really engage them in interactive activities or to just provide them with enough information that is consistent and not feel overwhelmed to complete the whole curriculum. So that's one of the things that we learned, that we really needed to keep the youth engaged. And some of our successes has been really prioritizing our topics to make it meaningful for our clients. And I think one of the main things that has helped with that is the financial needs assessment. And the next thing is also the Healthy Marriages program focuses on couples, and so with the financial piece, all the couples are attending together. And so we're seeing that as a family, they're having that conversation around money and finances. So let me see here. So our next steps. So with the program integration, we are planning on providing the case managers and all staff at the Family Resource Centers with additional support. So we want to provide them with a financial stability empowerment workshop that can really help them identify powerful questions to ask their clients when they come in and receive services.
I think Baltimore also alluded to it. Most of the staff that work in emergency assistance or family development services, while we understand that they come in with crisis for financial needs, most of them don't have any background in discussing financial empowerment services or financial empowerment, don't even know the questions to ask sometimes. So it really is retraining emergency assistance people to understand how important it is that they guide conversations if they want clients to think about changing their behavior or to understanding what's available for them.
And so we're also going to continue working with our financial stability partners. Again, there's a lot of people that are involved in that, so just that constant communication with that. And then as far as agency integration, we have recently had a meeting with our environmental and energy and environmental services staff, and so we're hoping that we'll be able to move that forward. And then, so let's see here. I think that's one more here. So after our rating, we would say that we would rate ourselves as a 4. And the way we feel about it now is that we have clear expectations what we want from our financial stability partners. We also have the tools to guide us through what topics are needed. So that's with the financial needs assessment. And we have a better understanding of the program implementation. So how all of our pieces of our program actually ties together and how each of them build on one another and how important everything is to be provided as a one program.
And when she talked about integration, we used to have them as standalone components. They would take the relationship training and then they would take, but now we market them and they're one training. The relationship and the financial empowerment services are actually one training. We don't even separate them. We've totally integrated them as one program.
And then we'll also be offering training opportunities for Family Resource Center staff. Again, I think if we have them on board and they have a better understanding of what it is that we're doing, we're definitely seeing the results now. They're excited, they're able to support staff, and they're able to even continue to link staff with additional resources as needed.
Questions?
Are there any questions?
That's the next one.
There you go.
Hi, ladies. Thank you both so much for your presentation. Again, thank you for walking us through the work that you're doing at your site and how you have overcome some of the barriers that you were facing in your work. The one question that I see right now for the moment that we got from quite a few people is, would you be willing to share the wonderful tools that you were so gracious to share with us during your presentation?
Absolutely. We can give them to you just as you said in the previous presentation, and you can get them out through that portal. That would be
all right.
fine.
You guys can expect to see those tools as well in the follow-up email that you'll get, within 1 or 2 days of today's event. So thank you for that, ladies. Are there any other questions that people have for either of our groups? I think we're kind of wrapping up. So we're our last presenters, so thank you again, ladies. But did anyone have any general questions for either of our 2 presenter groups that are on the call or for RAL, maybe more generally about their experience with financial empowerment or some of their thoughts and opinions on that. I'll give you all a few minutes to send your questions into the chat. Well, I don't see any questions coming in at the moment, but I do see we are running short on time. So wanting to be mindful, I'm going to go ahead and move ahead. But the Baltimore City, Capstone, and CAP of Orange County, I wanted to thank you all so much. I have to, again, say it has been such a pleasure working with you all in this cohort and just getting to see and live somewhat vicariously through the work that you all have been doing in your communities. And I, again, just want to say thank you. I also want to give another great thanks to Ariel, again, for your work in coordinating the efforts of this cohort. As you all hopefully have seen from this presentation, that they have been able to accomplish a lot in the last 16 months. So we just applaud all of your efforts. And again, thank you. All right, so we're going to keep moving forward. So thank you for joining us for today's webinar event. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you're interested in learning more about the learning community and what is going on, oh, we actually did have a question for you all that came in for Orange County, if you guys would actually like to answer it. Someone asked, do you all have good outcomes as far as engaging your clients in financial behavioral change? Maybe this is more of a general question, but would Baltimore and Orange County, would you guys be willing to discuss a little bit about what you feel like your outcomes have been with engaging clients in this work?
It's for Orange County, it's a new program, so we only have a few anecdotal. Like we know that one of our participants, just during the holiday season, because we had specifically done workshop on how to spend less during the holiday, actually was able to save $1,000, which you have a
right. She was able to save $1,000 in 3 months, and she doesn't even work. So what was really important about that was her husband would give her some money on a weekly basis, and so she started looking for ways to supplement that income by receiving food from the food pantries and so forth, or being creative with their food, and she was able to save that money. We also had another client that, based on the workshops that we presented, she was actually able to reach out and receive additional one-on-one assistance to consolidate her debt because she was just drowning in debt. And so it was a huge stress on the family for that. And we've had many other success stories.
But again, we're hoping, and part of it is that we're in a national, the Healthy Marriages is a national program, so most of our information is on a national database, and we haven't received our first year back. So hopefully we can come back to you in 6 months and, you know, give you some really good data about changes.
I will say, though, that I would say like 95% of the clients that go through our Healthy Relationship actually complete the financial stability component as well. And so that's really important because, again, as couples, they're working on a plan. So it's not just one person hearing the information, but both parties.
And also, one of the things I didn't talk about, because it isn't about financial empowerment, we specifically wanted to do this program to increase male participation in our programming. When we look at our Family Resource Centers, about 68% of the clients that we assist are female. So we really wanted to set some designs to increase male participation, and we've been really successful in having that happen.
So I think for Baltimore City, one of the big successes was the partnership creation that we were able to do. When we thought that we would be able to have the IDA program, we created some really strong partnerships with local universities. One in particular is Morgan State University. We were able to work with their administration so that we can now do on-campus classes regarding financial capability and empowerment, and we are also holding a 7-week program on the campus that's going to be open to youth in the Summer Youth Works program to the city, but also any youth from Baltimore, period. We can host approximately 125 kids for each session, but those kids will get a campus tour. They'll learn how to save money for college. They'll have a financial aid counselor come in to present for them. They'll have area speakers who've gone through some hurdles in life but were able to accomplish their goals. They'll speak to students who are from the city, and they'll also get information on what is it like to participate in a college class, and of course how to build that budget and get employment. And then Adamko has some successes that are related to clients in particular.
Yeah, so with regard to clients, since we have introduced our Roma scales and have started training our staff on the financial capability scales as well, they have been able to really open up the clients in terms of having the clients feel comfortable discussing their finances. We've actually had a couple of clients who have begun coming in on a regular basis for that monthly budgeting and financial management. So we are starting to see those successes.
And we've also been able to increase the asset development for our VITA program, as well as increase those participants who will open up a bank account probably by about 50% compared to the start of the program in 2015.
Great. Good outcome.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all so much for sharing on that. So I don't see any more questions, but again, thank you to all of our presenters. And I just wanted to skip through our last couple of slides, wanting to be mindful of everyone's time. But if you enjoy what you heard here today, we would really encourage you to join us again tomorrow for a similar webinar event where you're going to hear from participants in our Trauma-Informed Approaches group. So that's going to be tomorrow, May 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you click on the link that's there on your screen in the title, it'll actually take you straight to the registration page for that event. So we hope you join us for that. Also, another webinar series that we have coming up, and it touches a little bit on the content that we talked about today, but we're actually collaborating with CFPB. And we're going to be hosting a Your Money, Your Goals Train the Trainer event. So if you or any of your staff are interested in learning more about this curriculum and how Your Money, Your Goals might fit into your financial empowerment efforts, please be sure to join us. We're going to have two webinars on June 12th and June 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and they're going to run about 2 hours each, and they're available to anyone who is interested. So we do hope that you join us for those if that piques your interest. Again, we really appreciate your feedback. We do try to take it into consideration when coming up with topics and series for our webinar events. So if you have just a few moments, we would greatly appreciate you filling out our survey to let us know how we did today. And finally, here is the contact information for all of the LCRC team. Please feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions or concerns that you might have. And of course, shameless plug for our annual convention, which is going to be taking place August 29th through September 1st in Philadelphia. And if you're interested, at this conference, you'll be able to hear from select members of the learning community from each of our different groups, sharing again about their successes that they learned through their participation in this cohort. So with that, that will conclude our presentation for today. Again, big thanks to Ariel and our presenters from Baltimore City, Capstone, and CAP of Orange County. Thank you all so much for your time, and this concludes our presentation. Thanks so much for joining us.